In this video, I will be discussing the 8th house in astrology. This is sometimes referred to as the house of transformation. It is the house where Scorpio naturally sits on the cusp, and with Pluto being the natural ruler of Scorpio. The 8th house is the house of profound transformation, change, rebirth, evolution, and growth, whether that be in one's emotional life or one's personal life, one's spiritual life. The 8th house has to do with all things related to psychology, whether that be one's own psychological growth and development, one's psychological insights, a person's emotional depth, and their level of self-awareness. The 8th house is also a house of introspection, going deep within oneself, becoming aware of one's shadow and the issues one needs to deal with in order to be able to grow. It is the house of self-discovery, learning about the inner workings of one's inner world. The 8th house includes the areas of mysticism, forms of spirituality, especially forms of spirituality where one seeks to explore one's inner world and the inner realms. It is the house of meditation and of spiritual evolution. Overall, the 8th house is a very deep place. It seeks to learn about things that are unknown, things that are hidden. This includes the areas of the occult, the esoteric arts and sciences, and in general, learning about and discovering things about the mysteries of the universe. The 8th house is the house of deep intimacy. It is the house of sexuality, of passion, and generally things that are intense. The 8th house also has to do with finances, but finances in the sense of shared resources, resources from partnerships, resources from marriage, inheritances, and various other forms of unearned wealth. The 8th house very much so has to do with cycles, and in particular, it has to do with the ending of cycles, of death, and these endings brought in by various forms of crisis and upheaval. However, the 8th house is also the house of rebirth, the beginning of a new cycle, regeneration. So this can include reincarnation, karma, and healing, and particularly inner and emotional and spiritual healings of all kinds.